Imagine a world where Europe wasn't covered by dry and chilly landscapes, but by a vast, warm archipelago of tropical islands. While we often associate islands with exotic, sunny getaways millions of years ago, Europe itself was an insular paradise. During the Cretaceous period, the continent was not only warmer, but consisted of a cluster of islands surrounded by shallow seas, resembling the Caribbean more than the Europe we know today. Intriguing, isn't it? So, get ready to travel back in time and discover what Europe looked like when it basked in tropical waters. Many of these islands were modest and uninhabited, making them serene spots to explore. However, some harbored residents that would have made any visit a nerve-wracking experience. Of all the islands you could have wandered through back then, none were as unsettling as Hazteg Island. This land was home to a variety of creatures that could haunt even your wildest nightmares. Interestingly, these creatures weren't the usual terrifying dinosaurs. In this rare corner of the prehistoric world, dinosaurs weren't the ultimate rulers, they were prey. Welcome to Hazteg Island, one of the most terrifying destinations you could ever imagine. Hazteg Island was a sizable landmass during its time, though it no longer appears on any modern map. Today, the only traces of its existence are found in rock formations near the town of Hazteg in Romania. However, between 90 and 66 million years ago, Hazteg was an independent island with an area of about 80,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of Hispaniola, which now hosts Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Geological evidence suggests that Hazteg sat near the equator, and if it existed today, it might occupy a region similar to modern-day Algeria. In terms of climate, geology, and topography, the closest modern parallel to Hazteg might be Hainan Island near China. However, during the Cretaceous, Hazteg wasn't surrounded by African landscapes but by other European landmasses, such as Iberia, Ireland, Sardinia, Bosnia, Austria, and parts of present-day Ukraine. Due to the arrangement of continents at the time, Hazteg wasn't far from Africa or even parts of North America. But don't get your hopes up about swimming between continents, hey. Hazteg was encircled by the Tethys Sea, with at least 200 kilometers of water separating it from the nearest landmass, the Bohemian Massif. This isolation made Hazteg a relatively quiet place for much of its existence, as only a few animals could reach or permanently settle there. The sparse fauna of the island's early Cretaceous period reflects this, meaning that if you had somehow ended up stranded there, your primary concerns would have been small lizards and marine turtles. However, things began to change toward the end of the Cretaceous. Dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and other creatures eventually reached the island, establishing permanent populations and seemingly transforming Hazteg into a typical dinosaur-dominated ecosystem. But that wasn't entirely the case. On Hazteg Island, animals followed a unique size pattern unlike anything seen elsewhere. For any explorer who set foot on this lost land, the surprise would have been immediate. Dinosaurs were notably smaller, while the apex predators weren't theropods but massive carnivorous pterosaurs. Why were the pterosaurs so enormous while the dinosaurs shrank? This question has fascinated paleontologists for decades. The most widely accepted explanation is the island rule, which suggests that animals on isolated islands tend to shrink or grow in response to available resources. In Hazteg's case, dinosaurs became smaller due to limited food supplies, while pterosaurs, typically constrained in size by competition with large dinosaurs, were free to grow larger without rivals to keep them in check. As a result, Hazteg became home to some of the largest flying animals ever to exist. Picture a land where dinosaurs were not the undisputed rulers of the food chain, but prey to even more colossal and fearsome creatures, the pterosaurs of the Azhdarchidae family that inhabited Hazteg Island. Among them, 3 species stood out as the dominant predators of the region. All of them belonged to the Azhdarchidae family, the most widespread group of pterosaurs during the Cretaceous period, known for their long legs and extended necks. The smallest member of this trio was Urajdarcho, which, despite its more modest size compared to others of its kind, was an imposing creature by modern standards. With a wingspan of 3 meters 10 feet, its wings spanned as wide as those of today's largest birds. However, this creature did not pose a significant threat to most of the dinosaurs roaming the island. Its diet likely consisted of amphibians, small reptiles, and tiny mammals. Yet, while Urajdarcho may seem unthreatening to larger dinosaurs, its pterosaur cousin Albadraco took ferocity to an entirely different level. This colossal creature was not the largest on the island, but its stature and strength made it a true predatory beast. With a wingspan reaching up to 7 meters 23 feet, it surpassed even Argentavis, the largest flying bird known to date. If you had the chance to observe this giant up close, you would have been awestruck by its height, allowing it to look down on you from an intimidating vantage point. Albadraco's skull was another peculiar feature. Notably larger and more robust than those of other pterosaurs, its skull appears to have been an evolutionary adaptation to withstand strong impacts and hunting stresses, allowing it to bite with great force and precision. This anatomical change likely facilitated the consumption of large prey, such as some of Haig's dwarf dinosaurs. On an island where resources were scarce, Albadraco became a lethal and specialized predator. Its sharp, powerful jaws supported the idea that its diet consisted of significant prey, not limited to small dinosaurs, but also including certain dwarf theropods and noasaurs. This characteristic made it a formidable hunter. While capable of flight, studies of its limbs and wings suggest that Albadraco was largely a terrestrial hunter, stalking its prey from vegetation and using flight primarily to explore new hunting areas. If Albadraco seemed like a terrifying titan, wait until you learn about Hatzegopteryx, the largest flying predator known in Earth's history. This pterosaur, bigger and bulkier than any other flying creature, reigned as the apex predator on Haig Island. With an impressive wingspan of approximately 12 meters, 39 feet wider than the wings of an F-35 fighter jet, Hatzegopteryx was not only enormous, but also exceptionally robust and heavy. When on the ground, it stood up to 5 meters, 16 feet tall, similar to the height of a modern giraffe, the tallest animal alive today. Its robust build and formidable size made this creature more akin to a bomber than an ordinary flying animal, and some paleontologists estimate it could have weighed as much as a medium-sized grizzly bear. With such a structure, it might seem difficult to imagine how Hatzegopteryx could take flight, but it certainly could. The wings of this colossus were so well designed and optimized for flight that they showed no signs of regression or disuse. To lift its massive body into the air, Hatzegopteryx relied on its powerful legs for an initial vertical jump, propelling itself up to 2.4 meters, 8 feet into the air. This leap gave it enough height to fully extend its colossal wings and launch into the skies over Haig Island. However, due to its size and weight, Hatzegopteryx was not built for long-distance flights. Instead, it is believed to have preferred short bursts of flight, using its vast wingspan to glide briefly and survey its surroundings. From the air, it could locate potential prey, and thanks to its acute vision, it detected any movement among the island's vegetation. This observational ability made it a highly efficient and lethal hunter. Once it located its target, Hatzegopteryx would descend, using its sheer size and weight to overpower large prey with little effort. Like Albadraco, Hatzegopteryx was primarily a terrestrial hunter, likely using its towering height to peer over vegetation and scan the terrain for hidden prey. Studies have revealed that it possessed scleral ringsand ocular adaptation that enhanced its vision. This feature allowed it to perceive subtle movements among the plants, spotting any animal attempting to hide. In addition to its vast wingspan and immense power, its ability to carefully observe its surroundings cemented Hatzegopteryx as the dominant predator of Haig Island. While Hatzegopteryx was a carnivore, its terrifying lethality wasn't solely due to its massive size. What truly made it one of the most fearsome and deadly creatures on Haig Island was its gigantic head, dwarfing even Albadraco in comparison. The beak of Hatzegopteryx measured an astonishing 2.5 meters, 8 feet in length, the size of an entire horse hand. It wasn't just long, but also remarkably robust. Its surreal appearance was like something straight out of a prehistoric nightmare. The design of its head provides the clearest evidence of its monstrous diet. Its skull was compact yet thick, capable of withstanding immense forces, and its neck was encased in a dense network of ligaments and muscles. This robust musculature not only supported its enormous head, but also turned it into a deadly weapon. Paleontologists have concluded that Hatzegopteryx was a true dinosaur killer, preying on many of the creatures inhabiting the island, including dwarf dinosaurs and ornithopods. While its beak could open wide enough to swallow large prey, Hatzegopteryx also wielded it in far more aggressive ways. It could strike and stab its prey with such force that even dinosaurs too large to be devoured in one bite might die from the impact alone. Additionally, the edges of its beak were far sharper than typically seen in other pterosaurs, suggesting a more varied and deadly diet compared to other species in its group. The strength of its beak was so immense that recent studies show the neck and beak of Hatzegopteryx could withstand forces up to 10 times its own body weight. This means each thrust of its beak could penetrate deeply into the flesh of its prey or cause severe traumatic damage. Such destructive power made Hatzegopteryx an elite predator, capable of taking down prey that would have been nearly impossible for most other hunters to overpower. Its massive size and ability to inflict devastating injuries cemented its role as the undisputed king of this prehistoric island. Evidence of scars found on the skulls of several specimens suggests that Hatzegopteryx was an extremely violent predator. These scars indicate high-speed impacts, implying that the pterosaur frequently endured and dealt brutal blows during hunts. This aggressive and destructive behavior highlights not only how lethal these pterosaurs were, but also their dominance over Hazteg Island's ecosystem. Few predators could have challenged Hatzegopteryx's reign over the island. Yet, despite its intimidating size and fearsome feeding habits, this terrifying pterosaur wasn't the only danger lurking on Hazteg. Other predators, though smaller in comparison, were still formidable. Among them was a variety of crocodilians that, like the pterosaurs, benefited from the presence of dwarf dinosaurs by occupying higher positions in the food chain than they might have elsewhere. These crocodilians not only hunted in the nearby waters, but were also capable of ambushing prey on land, making them an even greater threat. One standout crocodilian from the island was Allodopasuchus, a crocodile-like reptile that, despite its relatively small size compared to Hague's other fauna, was still a considerable threat. This semi-aquatic predator dominated the island's abundant lagoons and rivers, ambushing thirsty animals that came to drink. Allodopasuchus could grow up to 3 meters 10 feet in length and weigh over 100 kilograms 220 pounds, making it heavier than an adult jaguar. Its powerful bite and finely serrated teeth allowed it to ambush prey with ease. What made it even more dangerous was its ability to move and hunt effectively on land. Studies suggest that its limbs were longer than those of other crocodilians, indicating greater agility on solid ground. This versatility made Allodopasuchus a highly effective predator, capable of capturing prey both in the water and on land. Its adaptability ensured that it, too, was a key player in Hazteg Island's complex and competitive food web. Although Allodopasuchus could be considered a miniature crocodile compared to other predators on the island, its ability to adapt to different environments made it a formidable predator. While the pterosaurs dominated the skies and the island's large predators hunted the smaller dinosaurs, Allodopasuchus took advantage of the island's aquatic resources and the small size of some of the dinosaurs to prey on animals larger than what would typically be its victims. Snakes also made their home on the island, and fossil evidence suggests the possible presence of species related to the Madsoidae familia group of prehistoric snakes known for including some of the largest species ever to have existed. However, the snakes on Hazteg Island were much smaller, likely due to the phenomenon of insular dwarfism, which affected many of the region's animals. These snakes would have been similar in size to common modern species, like the garter snake Thamnophis, measuring around 1 meter in length. Unlike their giant relatives, the snakes of Hazteg Island were not venomous and did not pose a significant threat to the island's larger animals. Still, they were opportunistic predators, likely feeding on small dinosaurs, amphibians, and other smaller creatures, playing a key role in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem. In comparison to other Madsoidae species from prehistory, these snakes were much more modest in size and part of an ecosystem constantly engaged in the struggle for survival. On Hazteg Island, known for its unique insular fauna, not all dinosaurs were small and docile. Among them was an enigmatic predator known as Balar Bondoc, whose name means robust dragon in Romanian. This dinosaur has puzzled paleontologists since its discovery, due to its unique anatomical features, leading to debates over its classification and behavior. Initially, Balar Bondoc was classified as a dromaeosaurid, a group of carnivorous theropod dinosaurs related to the famous velociraptors. However, more recent studies suggest that it may have been a highly specialized primitive bird, making it a member of the advanced Paraves group. This change in classification not only reflects the complexity of the evolutionary relationships between dinosaurs and birds, but also highlights how little we still know about some of these animals. Despite its small size, around 2 meters long, Balor Bondoc had a notably robust and muscular body. Its legs were shorter and more powerful than those of other dromaeosaurids, suggesting it was better adapted for strength rather than speed. A unique feature of Balor Bondoc was the presence of two large curved claws on each foot, rather than just one as seen in other dromaeosaurids. These claws may have been used to hold and tear apart prey, though their exact function remains speculative. Researchers have speculated that if Balor Bondoc was carnivorous, it likely employed ambush tactics in its hunting strategy. Its strong musculature and limbs designed for gripping could have allowed it to take on larger prey or even scavenge if it wasn't an active predator. However, there is still uncertainty about its diet. Some studies have found no direct evidence of carnivorous habits, and it's possible that this dinosaur also consumed an omnivorous or herbivorous diet, depending on the resources available in its insular ecosystem. The fauna of Hague was influenced by the phenomenon of insular dwarfism, where large animals tend to shrink in size and smaller animals fill unusual ecological niches. Balor Bondoc appears to have evolved in response to this unique environment, adapting differently from its continental relatives. While we cannot say for certain how dangerous it was, its anatomy suggests it was a formidable predator in its time and place. Finally, among the predators that inhabited the mysterious island of Hague, one of the most intriguing is a theropod known as Megalosaurus hungaricus, though this designation is not scientifically valid. The name was initially assigned based on scarce fossil fragments, primarily teeth, found in the region during the 19th century. However, more recent research has shown that it was not a member of the genus Megalosaurus, but likely a theropod related to the abelisaurids. The size of this predator is a subject of debate, but estimates based on the remains suggest it reached approximately 3 meters in length. While small compared to the giant predators of the continent, such as Tyrannosaurus rex or Allosaurus, in Hague's insular ecosystem where most animals experienced insular dwarfism, this dinosaur would have been a formidable predator. It is believed that this theropod hunted herbivorous dinosaurs like Struthiosaurus, a small ankylosaur with defensive armor, or Zalmoxes, an ornithopod the size of a deer. These herbivorous species would have been accessible prey due to their small size and relative abundance on the island. However, fossil evidence is limited, and paleontologists cannot confirm all aspects of its diet or hunting strategies with certainty. Hague was a unique ecosystem influenced by the isolation of the island, leading to extreme evolutionary adaptations in many species. This dinosaur, with its medium size and likely ambush capabilities, occupied the big predator niche on the island, though it would be considered small in other paleontological contexts. The reconstruction of its appearance and behavior is uncertain due to the lack of complete fossils. However, its inclusion in Hague's fossil record highlights the complexity of this ecosystem, where every creature, from small predators like Balor Bondoc to armored herbivores like Struthiosaurus, played a crucial role in maintaining the balance of insular life. Hague's ecosystem was unique not only for the dwarfism of its dinosaurs, but also for the absence of large predators that dominated continental ecosystems. This allowed relatively small carnivores, like the theropod erroneously known as Megalosaurus hungaricus, to occupy ecological niches that would typically be reserved for much larger predators in other environments. Though the study of Hague fossils is still ongoing, what we know confirms that this island was a microcosm full of fascinating interactions and unique creatures adapted to an environment of limited resources and fierce competition. Among Hague's herbivorous dinosaurs, Zalmoxes stands out as a small ornithopod whose biology and adaptation to this insular ecosystem make it a topic of great paleontological interest. Contrary to what one might think, Zalmoxes does show characteristics associated with insular dwarfism, though not as markedly as the other sauropods on the island. This dinosaur measured around 2 to 3 meters in length, relatively small compared to other continental ornithopods like Iguanodon. Insular dwarfism in Hague affected not only carnivores and sauropods, but also herbivores like Zalmoxes. The scarcity of resources in the insular environment led to evolutionary pressures that limited species' size to reduce their energy needs. However, Zalmoxes leveraged its small size and diet based on low-quality vegetation, such as leaves and fibrous plants, to adapt perfectly to the ecosystem. The title of Hague's largest dinosaurs goes to the titanosaurs, a group of dwarf sauropods that inhabited the island. The The most representative of these was Magurosaurus dacus. Magurosaurus dacus. This sauropod, which measured around 6 meters long and weighed approximately 1 ton, is a clear example of insular dwarfism. Despite its reduced size compared to other continental titanosaurs like Argentinosaurus, Magurosaurus was the largest dinosaur in Haig's ecosystem. This titanosaur adapted to life in an environment with limited resources by developing smaller bodies and possibly a more selective diet. While they were not the colossal giants of the past, their size still provided significant defensive advantages against local predators, like small theropods. It is interesting to note that the herbivorous dinosaurs of Haig, such as Struthiosaurus, possessed defensive adaptations. This small ankylosaur, about 2 meters in length, was equipped with osteoderm's bony plates that likely protected it from attacks by island predators. However, there is no evidence of a dinosaur named Gorosaurus in Haig. This confusion may stem from an error referring to Struthiosaurus or another armored dinosaur. In Haig's insular ecosystem, not all dinosaurs had the same opportunities for survival. Among them, a small herbivore called Telmatosaurus transylvanicus, a primitive hadrosaur, stands out as one of the most unfortunate animals on the island. This dinosaur, reaching approximately 4 to 5 meters in length and weighing around 500 kilograms, shows clear evidence of insular dwarfism, being significantly smaller than its continental relatives. Though it was a common species in Haig and likely formed a significant part of the diet of predators like Balar bondoc, Telmatosaurus lacked significant physical defenses, such as armor or natural weapons, which made it vulnerable. Studies of its teeth suggest it had a diet based on low-lying vegetation like shrubs and herbaceous plants, and it may have sought refuge in wooded areas to avoid predators. But Telmatosaurus's challenges weren't limited to predator threats. A notable fossil of this species shows evidence of a benign bone tumor known as ameloblastoma in its lower jaw. This finding is one of the first records of tumors in dinosaurs and suggests that the affected individual may have had difficulty feeding, compromising its survival. This vulnerability, combined with the effects of insular dwarfism, made life especially difficult for this species in Haig. While insular dwarfism reduced the size of many species on Haig, others, such as certain primitive birds, experienced the opposite phenomenon, insular gigantism. Among them is the enigmatic bird Gargantuavis philoenos, which lived during the Late Cretaceous. Though not a non-avian dinosaur, this bird coexisted with them and became one of the largest creatures on the island. Gargantuavis measured approximately 2 meters in height and weighed around 140 kilograms, putting it in a range similar to a modern ostrich. However, its skeletal structure suggests that it was likely incapable of flight. Its legs were robust and muscular, similar to flightless birds like the moa of New Zealand, indicating that it was an efficient terrestrial walker. Despite its imposing size, Gargantuavis's role in the ecosystem remains a mystery. No complete fossils of its skull have been found, making it difficult to determine whether it was a herbivore, an opportunistic carnivore, or even an omnivore. However, the most accepted hypothesis suggests that it probably fed on low vegetation, seeds, and fruits. Haig Island wasn't just fascinating on land, but was also surrounded by shallow seas that hosted some of the most fearsome aquatic predators of the Late Cretaceous. These seas were part of the Tethys Sea, a vast stretch of water that connected unique marine ecosystems. Among the most iconic inhabitants of these waters were mosasaurs, giant marine reptiles that dominated the prehistoric oceans. Haig and its surrounding areas were no exception, as the region boasted a remarkable diversity of mosasaur genera. While there have not been specifically identified 9 genera associated with this region in current records, it is known to harbor multiple species in its ecosystem. Some of the genera documented in the Tethys Sea and similar environments to Haig include Mosasaurus, the archetype of mosasaurs, known for its large size, with some species exceeding 15 meters in length, though its more common relatives in these waters likely hovered around 10 meters. Prognathodon. This robust mosasaur had jaws specially adapted to crush prey with hard shells like turtles and ammonites. Plioplatecarpus. Smaller than other giant mosasaurs with an average length of 6 to 8 meters, but still an effective high-speed predator in coastal waters. Not all mosasaurs were colossal. Some, like smaller species of Clydastes or Eonatator, were relatively small, with lengths between 3 and 4 meters, comparable to large modern sharks. However, even the smaller ones were agile and lethal predators. In addition to mosasaurs, the waters surrounding Hague Island were home to various marine predators, including plesiosaurs. These marine reptiles, with their long necks and hydrodynamic bodies, would have made a strong impression on anyone venturing into these waters. Although they were not a direct threat to humans if they had existed in this context, their presence would have heightened the sense of danger in this marine ecosystem. Plesiosaurs weren't as large as mosasaurs, but their hunting strategy relied on ambushing fish and other small marine animals. Their long necks allowed them to approach prey stealthily from various angles, making them efficient hunters in shallow waters and reefs. Not only did marine reptiles dominate the waters, but sharks also thrived in the Tethys Sea, including species that have left a significant impact on the fossil record. Among them, the following stand out. Squalocorax crow shark. This shark, reaching up to 5 meters in length, was an opportunistic predator. Its diet included carcasses of large animals, such as dinosaurs that fell into the water. Bite marks found on fossilized bones support this hypothesis, making Squalocorax a key inhabitant of the marine ecosystems of the time. Cretoxyrhina ginsu shark. This was one of the most formidable sharks of its time, reaching lengths of up to 7 meters. Nicknamed the cutting shark, its large, sharp teeth allowed it to hunt larger prey, including marine reptiles and large fish. Hybodoniforms. Representatives of this group, like Hybodus, were medium-sized sharks, about 2 to 3 meters. Though not giants, they were efficient predators, adapted to different habitats, ranging from deep waters to coastal zones. The text mentions species like Macel shark and Lepostiax, but no scientific evidence supports the existence of these sharks by those names. However, sharks like Cretoxyrhina and Squalocorax fit the descriptions and are more accurate. The marine environment of Hague was not a place for the weak. With predators like mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, and various species of sharks, the chances of surviving in these waters were slim for any unfortunate creature that ended up there. The preference of many of these predators for shallow waters made even the coastlines unsafe, especially considering that some mosasaurs and sharks hunted near reefs and beaches. While sharks didn't hunt prey outside the water, like land dinosaurs or pterosaurs, they could feed on carcasses floating in the water, reinforcing their role as scavengers and opportunistic predators in the ecosystem. Hague Island, a unique place in the Late Cretaceous ecosystem, was not immune to the whims of nature. Geological studies have shown that this region was highly active, with frequent volcanic eruptions that spread thick layers of ash across its territory. These events shaped both the landscape and life on the island, forcing its inhabitants to constantly adapt to a hostile environment. However, none of these local catastrophes could compare to the global tragedy that occurred 66 million years ago, the asteroid impact at Chicxulub in the present-day Yucatan Peninsula. This cataclysmic event not only ended the reign of the dinosaurs, but also left an indelible mark on Hague. The impact generated a rain of incandescent debris that re-entered the atmosphere, heating it to extreme levels. This caused global wildfires that ravaged vast areas of the planet. In Hague, where dry forest predominated, these conditions created a perfect storm for disaster. The flames consumed vegetation, leaving herbivores without food and carnivores without prey. Furthermore, the cloud of dust and particles raised by the impact blocked sunlight for months or even years in a phenomenon known as impact winter. Temperatures dropped drastically, disrupting photosynthesis and collapsing food chains. For the creatures of Hague, adapted to an isolated and fragile ecosystem, these conditions were devastating. The combination of tsunamis, fires, and extreme climate changes led to the total collapse of the island's insular ecosystem.